You know, when I signed on, they kind of gave me a heads up. They're like, don't worry, you don't have to do like a John Goodman thing. And I was like, that's great, because I can't do a John Goodman thing.
Now, right off the bat, I've got to know, what was your relationship with the Monsterverse, with the Godzilla world before you joined this show? Were you casual fan? Did you know nothing about it?
I would say casual fan. I'd seen all the legendary movies, and I think I saw the '85 movie, but I definitely had like the 2 or 3 foot tall plastic Godzilla like monster as a kid. And I feel like whenever you went to somebody's house and like you'd be like, all right, who's got what toy? If they had that, it was like the one you would gravitate towards first. You're like, I want this one. And then you can have whatever 10 ones you want, you know.
Mari, what about you? Were you also rocking the Godzilla toy?
I didn't, unfortunately, not have a toy. Shame on me as a Japanese person, but I grew up with it everywhere. Sort of the figures and the music, and it's everywhere in Japan growing up. So I feel like it's very much part of my identity in a way. And the original films, or like the film is so iconic. So definitely was a huge fan of that. And for the Monsterverse, I had seen like a couple of the movies, but once, I joined the project, I was like, oh, I have to go back and watch everything. So I'm still in the process of like watching all of the other kaiju films from, way back when. I'm excited to watch all of those now.
Oh yeah, that's a good little binge watch there. Now, this is such a fun project in that we're really diving deep into the lore, and you both have really interesting characters in different ways. So, Anders, first off, we meet your character Billy in Skull Island, both in the future, kind of in the past, as John Goodman. Was there anything that you did to create that continuity of character, or were you more interested in trying to distinguish the characters?
You know, when I signed on, they kind of gave me a heads up. They're like, don't worry, you don't have to do like a John Goodman thing. And I was like, that's great, because I can't do a John Goodman thing. You know, like he's John Goodman, I'm me. I'm just going to try and, do my thing, and hopefully it works. But it's very cool to tell people like, I'm playing young John Goodman. Everybody loses their mind.
Well, we did get a little bit of John Goodman in the show. Did you get to chat with him at all about it, or?
No, we were ships in the night. He came, he did his thing. I wish I could just get like, 10 minutes to be like, give me some, just through like osmosis. If I could just hold his hand for 30 seconds and absorb anything. But, that's the business.
Now, Mari, you've got kind of an interesting character too with Keiko, in that we see her fall into this like horrible pit and meet her horrible end really right off the bat. And then we jump back. Did that influence the fans getting to see what happens to her? Did that influence how you played her character at all?
How I play the character? Well, I don't think so. In terms of preparing the character, people don't know when they're gonna die, right? So that doesn't really, come into play when I prepare for a character. I think it's more about, what drives her. And why is she doing this? That is like the whole driving force behind Monarch, along with Billy's sort of, passion. So the focus was on that. And then I think that makes it even more devastating, the sudden death of it, because she's in pursuit of what she's just a victim of her own curiosity. So yeah, I think it works well that way.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, both of you together have created this kind of tragic power couple. What's it been like working together as a duo?
I love the tragic power couple.
Yeah. Dude, let's get shirts made.
Hashtag tragic.
Yeah, I want that. It was a blast. We had a good time. We didn't know each other before production. I would say we hit it off.
Relatively, speaking.
Yeah, I mean, we're a tragic power couple. So like, I feel like if we didn't have the chemistry, we'd be a tragic power couple.
Yeah, that's true. It's iconic. It's pretty iconic. I think one of the directors that we worked with mentioned this film, Fire of Love, and it's about two scientists who go and study volcanoes with no gear back in like the 70s or something, and that kind of like clicked for me, because it's like they're so bonded through this. They're so fearless. Everything the curiosity and the passion to know more and figure out, like, trumps everything else, you know. So yeah, I think they have this like fierce bond through that. And I also think it's so interesting that both of our characters come from, you know, we see in the first episode, like Billy comes from this tragic loss of all of his shipmates, and Keiko, it's not explicitly said, but she comes from like her own sort of set of losses from the war. And, you know, these two people on opposing sides of the war find each other through this, you know, thing that's fueled by both of their traumas in a way. So I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And the story is, of course, about the monsters, and the monsters are very cool. But it's such a story about human trauma and human bonding. What was it like for both of you really getting into this project, digging in and really tapping into those more human moments?
Yeah, I mean, I come from mostly comedy. And, you know, now I'm a dramatic actor. I wear leather shirts, and everything's different. But it's fun to try and tap into that kind of stuff and to see if you can, you know, get there, you know, and if you can and feel those emotions, show those emotions. And it's just great to have, you know, scene partners like Mari and Wyatt who are like right there with you. You know, and they bring it, and that helps you bring it. And like, you know, sometimes you're like, I don't know if I believe this. But then when you look at somebody who's like, they're in it and they're believing it, you're like, well, is it real? I think it's real. And then you go and you do it, you know?
Yeah, it's fun. Absolutely. Mari, what about you? It seemed like you were very in it as well.
Oh my God, yes, very much a believer. I think the fun of doing fantasy, this is like my first time doing any kind of sci-fi or fantasy, but I realized, you know, I was like, oh, is it going to be any different? But then you realize that the more, you know, whimsical or fantastical the world might be, like, it's even more interesting to find ways to ground your character in reality, because that gives the fantasy even more depth, right? What's at stake for these characters? So for me, the, you know, preparation of it was like the same as preparing for any kind of drama, like a lot of research and, you know, being very emotionally, true, and just finding like the truth in like all of the moments. And I think it just adds more to the fantasy itself. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for talking with me about it. The show has been so much fun. You've both been great, and I appreciate your time.